Well, we have another former politician that's trying to make an impact to the gun community right before the election. And we're going to talk about what a failure this is, how many failures I see in this one picture. And of course, I want to see how many failures y'all point out in this one picture, because I'm sure it'll be more than what I can even point out. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about why a retired politician would do this so close to the election anyways. There is an interesting reason. I think y'all might find it interesting too. So if you like what I do here, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. Now, this is Adam Kinzinger. You might remember him as the one of the only two Republicans that was actually on the January 6th committee. He was one of 10 that voted to impeach Trump after January 6th. And basically, it caused his political career to spiral out of control. Now, I'll touch a little bit more on that because it definitely involves, I think, part of the reasoning that we see this picture here. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now, the first thing I got to bring in question is the distance here to the targets. Now, you may be thinking, oh, yeah, he's probably doing some CQB stuff. Well, with that stance, let's just be honest, probably not. But with that scope and that distance of 5-7 yards, something like that, that is quite overkill. Now, I don't know if he ended up hitting anything on the range this day, but I sure to God hope that he did. Actually, thinking about it, it may have been too zoomed in for him to see anything at that short of distance there with that type of scope. My recommendation to Adam is next time you do a photo op like this, try the Hollis and Amos. It's a little bit more set up for distances that you're shooting here. The other thing I noticed is how he's holding the gun. First of all, with the stock, he's not really in his shoulder. He's kind of up on his cheek. It's almost like he moved the gun up so that way he doesn't have to get down on it or something. It's a really weird position. Now, 5.56 .223, which is the caliber of this gun, I don't know that that's going to make too much of an impact there as far as what he will feel. But if you shoot a gun, let's say even like something like 308, the wrong way, yeah, that scope will become a part of your face very quickly. The other thing I noticed was the eye pro on top of his head, right? Now, at a distance like this, I'm telling you, dude, ricochets will happen and they will catch you by surprise. You could be shooting all day and never have a ricochet, but I can assure you that they will happen and they will sneak up on you. And at this distance, you do not want that at all. You especially don't want it in your eyes. Now, I've been caught a couple of times shooting without my eye pro. It happens. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're 100, 200 or further yards away, the chances of it coming back and biting you going to be a lot less than distances like we see Adam shooting right here. Now, let me jump in here really quick because while I was editing this video, I found out two very important things. First of all, Zingerfinger was actually promoting this event with Lucas Kunce, who is a senator, a Democrat senator in Missouri, who's running up against Josh Hawley. First of all, good luck with that. The other thing I found out is that one of the reporters that was there actually ended up getting injured from, you guessed it, a bullet fragment. Now, fortunately, the reporter is okay. He wasn't seriously injured. They put a tourniquet on it and all that, so he's fine. But you got somebody hurt doing this. If you don't know what you're doing, seek professional advice. There's gun guys all over the place in Kansas City, in Missouri, right? I think they were north of Kansas City at a private place. I mean, pretty much anybody could have told you, hey, look, I think we're too close to the targets. That's a pretty fast moving round, yada, yada, yada. And at the end of the day, they did end up getting somebody hurt because of it. Now, I talked about his stance, of course, but I also want to talk about the way he's kind of gripping that grip pod. It's a little odd looking. It's one of those things, some people, you know, hold the entire thing because it is a vertical grip and bipod combination. I guess it's okay, but he's got his thumb kind of, you know, straight up pointing in the air. This is something that took me a while to kind of get adopted into the way I shoot rifles, but it's something I had to do. I wanted to make that adjustment because I feel like it is the absolute best way to shoot, and that is thumb over bore. And very similar to when you shoot pistols, you try to keep that thumb as straight as you possibly can. Might be a little bit tougher with a rifle, but you hold that thumb over the bore and that's going to give you much more control. Now, assuming he was holding it into his shoulder the correct way, that would provide more stability by kind of pushing back a little bit, but you know, he wasn't, and so there's that. Now, besides the obvious photo op and epic gun fail, very similar to Tim Walz.
And I'm a knucklehead at times.
Right, just not quite right. How do you give it back?
I also want to point out the other significant thing, that is the type of gun old Adam Zingerfinger is using. Is actually a proponent now of a so-called assault weapons ban.
Look, I have opposed a ban, fairly recently. I think I'm open to a ban now.
He's kind of gone back and forth, but now as far as his stance, he actually says that Second Amendment advocates should be the leaders in gun control. Now, of course, he said openly he's going to vote for Kamala, who we all know how she feels about assault weapons, if you will, and AR-15s and even handguns. I did a video on that a couple weeks ago. Jesus, I mean, she's been a part of some really bad takes when it comes to firearms. So he's supporting that. Red flag laws, universal background checks, his common sense gun control that he says all conservatives and Republicans should be a part of. Now, he said that his disdain for Americans having ARs actually started with Las Vegas, but it seems like there was a little shift in old Adam here as soon as Trump got elected. You know, every single step of the way, he would butt heads with him, and I know it's just driving him absolutely bonkers that Trump is now running for a third time. And unfortunately, since 2016, he's developed a very serious disease that we call TDS. This affects every critical thinking part of your brain, from the frontal cortex all the way around. Listen, I'm not a doctor, but all I know is it's bad, and you don't want to get it because it really affects your judgment and everything and in every aspect of your life.
It's nothing like before. Most of that brain is dark.
The frontal lobes, the neocortex, the human part, that doesn't come back. The you part.
But not only does he want to support an assault weapons ban, he said that you should have an extra license or extra training to have that AR. So you're telling me that you want to ban the rifle, but you want people to have extra training, which would make them better with the rifle you want to ban. And just because Kinzinger is not in Congress and has no push or pull there any longer, doesn't mean that he can't be used as what the Democrats see as an important political tool that they can use to garner Republican votes. Kind of like saying, hey, if Walz's failed photo op can't do it, well, maybe we can get a Republican out there with a gun and maybe that'll do it. Somebody that really doesn't like Trump, but he believes in the Second Amendment, and maybe they'll forget about that whole, I want to ban AR-15s thing. I don't know the last time gun owners have been pandered this much to, but it's very similar to what Democrats specifically do to people in the black community, right? They will do that every 4 years, and they will say, hey, you're supposed to vote for us.
Now, you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you? That's not acceptable. That's not, this shouldn't even be a question.
And then absolutely hang them out to dry. You know, the last person was to do something incredible for the black community was Donald Trump and Tim Scott. I know it's hard to believe, and you may not have heard that anywhere else, especially if you watch certain news organizations, but that's the truth. It's not just pandering, it's doing stuff to actually build them up and help them. And they will do the same thing to gun owners. They want to get that vote because they know that we do have pull. We're a big crowd. We have a loud voice, and we have some organizations that are willing to fight tooth and nail to make sure that nothing gets passed. So if they can put somebody on the forefront that was a Republican, that voted in favor for gun rights for so long, again, maybe people will forget that he's kind of shifted course on the most popular defensive tool in America. And so I think he's trying to gain favor. He's kind of like this, I don't know, political person without a home almost, nobody on the right really wants him anymore. And, so he left Congress after the whole Trump thing. He cast his vote for Trump to be impeached and then left a short time later, So there's that. And even though he's a pundit for CNN, do they really like him? I don't know. Maybe he thinks that this will help him. Maybe there's a small percentage of a chance that he actually wants to come back to the Republican Party, because maybe he realizes that he was actually in a better situation. And hey, even if Trump comes back into office, God willing, it's still only going to be 4 years, and then after that, you know, maybe he'll actually come back, or he's looking for a comeback to the people that kind of put him on the map. I think that's a smaller chance. I think the more probable thing is that he's actually looking for a potential job if, God forbid, Harris actually wins in a couple of weeks.
Kamala Harris, as you know, said she would appoint a Republican to her cabinet. Would you be interested?
It depends what it is. Certainly, like, I would be interested. It's an honor to be able to do that, and you know, being on the cabinet is a huge deal.
Have there been discussions?
Not yet, no.
That's just my opinion, though. I'd love to hear yours. What are some things you saw wrong with this photo specifically? What are some things you saw him doing wrong, or some things that stuck out to you? And overall, why do you think they are pandering so hard to the gun community this time around? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down. And make sure you come over to Headshot Nation, the one and only gun and motorcycle community combined, where you can openly share ideas. You can start your own threads. You can talk to community members. You can talk back and forth with me. And you get ad-free, exclusive, and early access to videos right here on the channel. The link to that will be in the description.